Hey Christopher, how you doing? It's really good to see you. I'm so sorry you're not here in London. I mean, I've just been watching those videos back from when you hosted it in Google, and the
Oh
look on
man,
your
that was
faces of
fun.
complete exhaustion when we first met. I remember sitting with you at that last time. Going, what have we done?
We
Hardly
did
able to
something
speak.
great. We built something great together. That was really neat to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry you've been dragged away, but what we want to talk about is the amazing success of the Accessibility Discovery Centre that you've developed in London. I know that's been made your year slightly different shape to the one you thought it was going to be. But firstly, some people will know who you are, a lot of people will know you, I'm sure. But tell us a bit about your role and the organisation you work for, and a little bit about why you're involved in this and your background. I think that's a really good place to start.
Sure. Well, my name is Christopher, and I lead accessibility and disability inclusion for Google for EMEA. So, my responsibility is to try to understand the needs of people with disabilities from Helsinki to Cape Town, from Riyadh to Dublin, and sort of synthesize that and bring that information inside to Google so we can make our products and platforms and services more inclusive, more accessible. But at the same time, when I have their attention, teach them about the tools that we have today that could make their lives better, even if imperfect. And then by working together, we can make it better and better over time. And I've been here since July of 2021. In fact, the day that we're recording this is my first day as an official UK employee. It's been a huge transition, and the ADC is the first thing that we sort of built from scratch when coming here. And what the ADC is, it's a physical manifestation of the mantra, nothing about us without us. Half the space is dedicated to understanding the needs and the opportunities, dedicated to research. The other half is dedicated to technology, both cool tech games to help sort of destigmatize disability, and then examples of the different kinds of technologies, the different kind of assistive technologies that exist. We've been open since IDPD last year, so it's been almost a year, and we've had more than 1,600 people from outside of Google come through in this period of time. There's about 8 of us who give tours. We've got a dedicated schedule because it's that busy. And it is a career highlight for me. And I can look back and be proud that I had something to do with this.
Well, I mean, obviously, I've visited a couple of times. It's fantastic, and I think I've been lucky enough to have the personal Patnoe tour. Your enthusiasm and passion for that subject comes through so brilliantly. But as you say, the discovery bit is important. So because it's about bringing people together, and it's not just about discovering what the technology is capable of. I also love the fact that you're using it as a hosting spot for partnership work and outreach work with the community, bringing in people from different organizations. I came in and met when you hosted the Dyson team, which was fantastic because they brought everybody across the piece. And there were copywriters there and designers, and I'm sure you see that all the time. It's not just the coders, it's not just the technologists, it's a whole range of different people from the supply side, the companies that are building stuff. And then we've obviously got relations with all sorts of different local not-for-profits as well, and community organizations. And I think people might miss that sort of wrapper. But when they're in the room, it looks great, but it's who's passing through the room, which is the discovery bit, I think, isn't it? That you created a place for people to meet up and connect.
Well, it's the people that makes the people that does the work. The work we are doing is all about serving the communities that have the need, and we as technologists, as the copywriters, as the coders, as the designers, we need to understand what's there. And a place like this is where we go have that talk. I mean, remember, it's even impacting Google products already. When we first started doing this, I had Robin Spinks and I were having coffee, and he said, the Pixel should really have a magnifier. You've got such a great camera. It'd be really cool. I thought, that would be really neat. So we're out there writing a doc and passing it along, and we got people inspired. It got people excited. And we actually, in record time, from my perspective, at a place like Google, we built, tested, and shipped an application. And it's available today in the Play Store for anyone using it like a Pixel 4 and higher, because it's important, it's relevant, and it's helpful.
Yeah, fantastic. And you talked about the numbers. You mentioned external connections. I'm guessing a big part of the message though is inward facing for you, in the sense of connecting into people for whom accessibility is not a part of the day job or even part of their daily consideration. What sort of impact have you seen in terms of bringing people along in that way?
We've had many hundreds of people come through the ADC just within our London site. But we've got this really interesting cachet where our sales teams are asking to bring people through because they want to provide benefits, a sort of an an SDG help to some of their partners. So they'll come in and one of us will give a tour talking about inclusion, talking about accessibility, both in terms of products, but also the corporate culture. How do you help your employees with disabilities?
The last time I spoke to you, it was probably 3 or 4 people who were helping you out, because that's obviously the scale at which it's changing. I mean, I'm just thinking about those people actually. Where do they come from? Where are you drawing your team from in the sense of their experience and skills? Are they accessibility specialists? Are you starting to see a more generalist sort of team working with you on that? That's who I met last time, I think. Wasn't an accessibility person from memory. So
yeah, it is. So that we have 3 what we call accessibility analysts. They were the people that helped create all of the demos. They helped create the narrative and help me really make sure that what we wanted to do had validity and that it was correct. And so we were the first 4, but we have engineers, we have program managers, we have policy, we have HR in here. So it's not just people who do accessibility. Someone today who works literally making cameras for Google Meet, saying, "I'd like to volunteer to do that. Please show me how to do it." So it just provides an opportunity for people to contribute to something better than themselves using the skills of what they have.
cool. And in terms of where this started, we were talking about the fact that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, people trying to do these sorts of that's where the word empathy came in, wasn't it? Empathy labs at that point. And that was a problematic term for lots of good reasons, in terms of people feeling uncomfortable about what we were trying to simulate or what we were trying to build. But clearly you've struck a chord in some particular way. Is there anything in particular you think is different to what we were doing before? You've mentioned lots of different things that are in the room. Is there anything in particular you think just boiled that down for something that was, hey, this is a lot easier, this is going to take off?
There are 2 things in particular that we've done differently. One is the other ADCs we have in the US, they're internally focused, dedicated to teach Googlers about accessibility and disability inclusion. And they're narrowly focused, a couple of tables of kit, and you can go there and you can do your work. But we had so much more space. We had like 2 to 3 times the space that the other ADCs have. And we knew we couldn't do the exact same thing because we wanted to be responsible with the use of the space. So I think the willingness to include research in the space, so it's a complete story. It's the nothing about us without us and building cool stuff. You have all of it in one spot, and it tells a nice story of of when you take inclusion and then you build it and then you test it and then you fix it and then you test it. You sort of go both sides of that wall. That's the whole process of inclusion. It's the whole process of accessibility. So what we did is we have this research center inside the space, but also opening it to the public, I think, is where the real excitement came from. And then I lied, there's 3 things. The third thing is the use of video games. I'll be completely frank. We have our second ADC video game competition happening this week. The games are cool. The games are fun and they get people engaged. And now you have people who are who don't acknowledge to having any kind of disability using a chin joystick and finger switches. They're using eye tracking for maybe the first or second time. And they get to learn that the assistive technology is the how you do stuff. It's not the why. It's the how that gets a person to do something that they want to do.
Yeah. No, I think that, as you say, that third thing is bringing people in, but giving them something fun, changing the paradigm in terms of that work and fun. That's really cool. So you mentioned that ADCs were around. You had them inside Google, but this one's obviously changed the picture completely. What's next in terms of taking the idea on, and which of those ingredients are you able to bring into any other centers, or are you going to re-engineer things that were already there? What's the lessons learned, and where are you taking it?
probably a little bit of all of those. We're in the process of actually planning a refresh of some of our demos and games after a year. I think we want people to be willing to come back and see what's the new tech, what are the new demos. There's new phones from us, new features on all of our platforms. So we're also going to have some new games. Some of our friends at Sony and Samsung, they've been giving us hardware to include so we could actually show some of their gear and some of their assistive technologies. Again, because it's not about Google, it's about the conversation. But what's really cool is that it's taken off so well that other sites in Google around the world are in the process of actually, many have actually gotten permission to build. Like, I can't talk about where and when, but as of right now, I have 4 sites across the world that would be building ADCs, and we now have sort of 3 flavors of it because of the nature of the different kind of offices. So those of us that have engineering will have both sort of research and the tech. If it's a site that doesn't have engineering, then we'll do just like the tech side, the games and the kits and the demos. And if it's a really small sales site, we're trying to figure out like a mini ADC.
And I guess that suggests that there's a willingness, because of the success of this particular model in London, to invest in that, to move on from what was being done before and realizing that there may be a bit more effort needed, and the focus on games, for example, that wouldn't have existed without your experimentation. But clearly there's support internally for this as a move in terms of that discovery, I guess, and the impact that you can show there from who's involved and what they've learned and how much they've got behind what you're doing.
And yes, absolutely. We've got tens of thousands plus for each site. We know what it costs. We have sort of the playbook of what it takes to build. I even have the CAD graphics so they can build their own version of my tactile ADC sign, because I think that is an important part of teaching the story that you're not going to get it right. So there's some things that we expect in all of these centers, like the signs. But the other part is we need to make sure it's a locally relevant story. It needs, say you're in Ireland, you want to make it have an Irish story. The same way here in King's Cross, we talk about Harry Potter because we're at King's Cross Station. If you're in a different country, tell a story that will resonate with the people that go through. That's the purpose of it, not just to recreate what we have here, but take it to a different place. Tell your local stories so you can inspire your local people.
It's fantastic. I mean, I guess the point will be that come back in a year and there'll be another several thousands worth of people who've actually touched and used and experienced the tech or whatever form it is, but also that they've begun to connect that into their own work and see how that connects with the technology and the people, whichever angle they're coming from. No, I think it's really cool. And the partnership approach that you have is obviously part of its secret sauce in the sense of the relationships that you've built up. So just on a final one on that one, do you think that other organizations can develop something similar? Are you seeing other organizations talking about this? I'm thinking about our audience, wondering whether there may be somebody else out there who can take similar ingredients and wrap it into their organization.
Absolutely. I've heard from many organizations that they want to take ideas from this. Some of them have reached out asking about demos. So there's nothing confidential in our ADC. You're welcome to steal any idea because it's really about teaching, full stop. We have to learn, we have to teach. And we stumbled upon this formula. I can't say we had this grand vision of letting it in. No, we were scrappy and we realized that would be really cool. Wouldn't it be cool if people actually cared enough to come? I'll be frank, I wasn't convinced that people would come. I was really, really wrong. And I'm glad because we're creating a new choir. We've spent all this time talking about, we're always singing to the choir. If I do my job right here at the ADC, we're building a bigger choir. And then they get to go inspire people in their world. And then we all get helped out.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, as I said at the beginning, I'm sorry you're not here in London with us and sharing your knowledge and wisdom in terms of being in the room and obviously the fun and the love and all the enjoyment we're going to have. You're in Cape Town, I think. So
I am.
Have a great time there. And thanks so much for telling us more about the ADC. And I'm sure I'm going to be back into the ADC in the new year, see what the new innovations are. And I'm guessing a lot of people who are listening in are going to want to do the same. So look out for a full intro on its way to you with some more requests. So.
Where you're all welcome. Just email us at adclondon@google.com and we'll get you scheduled in.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Good to see you,
Cheers.
Mac.
Bye.